You may know my name, Jonah, son of Amittai, a prophet, yes, a servant of the Almighty indeed, but also a coward, a runaway, a man who thought he could outwit God. Let me tell you how that went. It all began when the Lord spoke to me. Go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry out against it, for their wickedness has come up before me. Nineveh? The very heart of our enemies? Those ruthless Assyrians who butchered nations, who raided our lands and laughed at our suffering? And now, God wanted me to warn them? To give them a chance to repent? No. Let them be destroyed. They deserved nothing but fire and fury. So I ran. Not just anywhere, I fled to Joppa, where I found a ship bound for Tarshish, the farthest place I could go. If Nineveh was east, then I would sail west. Surely, if I put enough distance between myself and God's command, He would send someone else. Foolish, I know. But at that moment, I convinced myself I could disappear from His sight. The sea was calm when we set sail. I paid my fare, went below deck, and hid myself among the cargo. The creaking of the ship and the gentle sway of the waves were like a lullaby, and soon I fell into a deep sleep. I didn't know that while I slept, the skies darkened, the winds howled, and the waves turned into monstrous walls of water. The ship groaned under the weight of the storm, tossed like a toy in the hands of an angry child. I woke to the captain shaking me violently. "How can you sleep through this? Get up! Call on your God, maybe He will save us." Above deck, the sailors were in a frenzy, throwing cargo overboard to lighten the ship. They cried out to their gods, but the storm raged on. Desperation filled their eyes. Then someone shouted, "Let's cast lots and see who is responsible for this disaster." The lot fell on me. Every eye turned my way. "Who are you? What have you done?" they demanded. And so, with the storm roaring around us, I confessed, "I am a Hebrew. I serve the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." They gasped in horror. "What have you done?" I told them everything, how I was fleeing from the Lord, how I had disobeyed His command. The storm grew wilder, the waves nearly swallowed us whole. "What should we do to you to make the sea calm?" they pleaded. I knew. "Throw me overboard," I said. "It's the only way." They didn't want to do it. They rowed harder trying to reach land, but the sea fought back, thrashing them with even greater fury. Finally, with fear in their eyes, they prayed to my God, "Lord, do not let us die for this man's life." And then, with trembling hands, they lifted me up and hurled me into the sea. The moment my body hit the water, the storm stopped. The sea went still. I expected to drown, to sink into the abyss, swallowed by the deep. But something else swallowed me instead. Darkness. A stench so foul it burned my nostrils. A prison of flesh and slime. I was inside the belly of a great fish. For 3 days and 3 nights I lay there. No light, no escape. Just the sound of my own breathing and the slow, rhythmic heartbeat of the beast that held me. There, in the pit of my disobedience, I did the only thing left. I prayed. From the depths of the grave, I cried out to you, Lord. You cast me into the deep, but still, you heard me. The waters surrounded me, seaweed wrapped around my head. I sank to the roots of the mountains, but you, O Lord, brought my life up from the pit. I repented, I surrendered, and then, just as suddenly as I had been swallowed, I was vomited out, spit onto dry land, gasping for breath, covered in filth but alive. This time, when the Lord said, "Go to Nineveh," I went. I walked through that great city, warning them, "In 40 days, Nineveh will be overthrown." And to my astonishment, they believed. From the king to the lowest beggar, they repented in sackcloth and ashes. Even their animals fasted. The whole city cried out for mercy, and the Lord, merciful as ever, relented. And do you know what? I was angry, furious. I knew you would do this, Lord, I cried. I knew you are a God of compassion, slow to anger and abounding in love. That's why I ran. I wanted them to suffer. So I sulked. I went outside the city and sat under the scorching sun, waiting, hoping that maybe, just maybe, God would change his mind and destroy them after all. But instead, God taught me one final lesson. He made a plant grow overnight, giving me shade and relief. But the next day, he sent a worm to kill it. The sun blazed down on me and I was miserable. Do you have a right to be angry about the plant? God asked. Yes, I do, I snapped. And yet you care more for this plant, which lived for only a day, than for the 120,000 people of Nineveh whom I have spared. I had no answer. Because I finally understood, God's mercy is not mine to control. He had shown me mercy in the belly of the fish. How could I deny it to others? So that is my tale.